According to recent surveys conducted by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the total of Hawaii farmlands has decreased some 180,000 acres between 2002 and 2007, a land area half as big as the island of Kauai. Although most of this farmland was converted to non-agricultural forestry and conservation, most of the land used from the sugarcane industry gave way to urbanization and housing development, a trend that worries many Hawaii farmers.
Well, there's no shortage of land, and really there's no shortage of water either. What makes it political is that there's competition for those resources. Land, for example, is something that has a value based on its ability to support housing. And ultimately, every landowner wants to get as much as possible for his land as he'll be able to get. So he's thinking in terms of housing. And it's even, if the state wants to acquire development rights to a piece of property, even if that land is zoned agriculture, they still have to pay for the cost of that land based on its developed value. Farmers can't compete with that kind of land cost. They simply can't compete with it. And the same is true with water. If the water is flowing in the stream, there's always the potential to take that water out of the stream, use it to flush toilets. And then that's considered to be a higher and better use of the water for some reason. If the water is flowing in the stream today, there's no guarantee that it'll still be there tomorrow, because that water may be allocated to some higher and better use, which is to support urban development. Because that's where the money is. Allocating water towards taro is something that we find it difficult to do. Taro is a crop that's particularly well suited to my vision of what agriculture should be in the future, because it's so highly productive on such a small area, and because it keeps a long time in the ground, so one crop can feed you for months and months. It's like it's in a refrigerator, And I think that in the future we're gonna need to grow a lot of our own food, and I think that farmers will become something, not so much a profession separated from other professions, but everybody will have to become a farmer themselves a little bit, to some extent. I'm never quite sure if we're the last of a dying breed or the beginning of something new. And I think that there's a lot of interest in young people into going into farming, and that interest is increasing. I think it represents a good option for people nowadays. It's quite different. But I think at the same time, we're having more and more trouble hanging on to our land and our water and allocating those resources towards agriculture on a long-term basis, because most of our land, most of our water is controlled by people who want to use it for development. And I think that's the main threat. So I think there's a future if we choose it. And I'm hoping it's a choice that we can make freely and with time to make that choice in a good way, rather than something that gets forced upon us because of global situation.